Hello, it's Lynn Watts here with Wyatt the Wonder Dog Books. And today I want to talk with you about how to cope if you are the only counselor at your school. I've been in that position before, and I've been the part time counselor back and forth between two schools. So I understand how it can feel, first of all, overwhelming, and as though you're always behind and you're just never going to be able to catch up. So let me tell you just a few pointers, things that I hope will help in coping with that kind of situation. I think the very first thing, and this is really one of the most important, is to define what your priorities are. What is the most important thing for you to do? What's the second most important thing? Um, and what comes next. That way, every time you get asked to do something, you know whether to say, I'll be right there, or whether to say, I'm not going to be able to get to that. This comes first. All right. So if that decision is in a way already made ahead of time because you know what your priorities are, it I think lessens the stress. And obviously, you're going to be educating people about how you work and what is the most important part of your job and what sort of things. Here's the next way to cope is to train other people to do some of the things that they would like for you to do. So sometimes that means if a child is having some sort of issue, maybe they're upset, maybe it's a meltdown, maybe you are not able to get there right at that moment, or maybe you're not even at school that day. Maybe you're homesick. You want to train the teachers, other people on staff, maybe the school nurse, the principal, assistant principal, whoever else seems to be most likely to be available or maybe to have those kind of skills. You want to train them in some things that they could do in the meantime. So maybe they can't play your entire role, and they're not going to have your whole base of knowledge in terms of how to handle that particular situation. But you can give them a few pointers, a few tips. You can educate them about specific children that may need specific things. In other words, this is the best way to calm this child down. This is the best way to handle this anxiety about getting to school or whatever. So, training other people and seeing what other people on staff can be resources when you are not available can be a really key part of that. The other part of that, I think, is to make sure that you advocate for your role and train people to know what you do. So not only that they know your priorities, but they understand what sort of things they should refer to you, what sort of things need to be referred elsewhere. And you have to advocate for yourself rather than assume that they know what your role should be and how it's defined. And if you have some issues with that, knowing what to say or what is considered to be the most important things that you can do, your priorities are the priorities of a school counselor. You can look at the ASCA guidelines, or maybe your state organization has similar kinds of situation or resources where you can refer to that and advocate for yourself. This is an important part of the job, believe it or not. I know when I started in school counseling, I just kind of thought everybody ought to know what I did. And I think it's important to advocate for yourself in many different ways. And part of that means just pointing out to people what you do and, what kind of success you've had and so forth. So advocating is an important part. And the fourth thing that you can do is make sure that you're caring for yourself. I've done whole videos on this, self-care for the school counselor. So I'm not going to go into this, but anytime you're in a high stress job, which counseling certainly can be, it's important to develop some ways of caring for yourself to make sure that you don't burn out and feel stressed out. Another disadvantage of being the only counselor is that you may feel that you have a lack of professional collaboration. There isn't somebody else on staff who has the same training as you or has, the same kind of ideas about how to handle certain situations or any other aspects of the counseling. So what do you do about that? I think the important thing is to be part of, there's lots of online communities now. You can certainly be a member, an active member of the national organizations, state organizations for school counselors. And perhaps you even, want to attend some conferences, some webinars, and maybe find a mentor that can help you, especially if you're very new in the field. So make sure that you take care of that as well. It can be a very lonely kind of position. On the other hand, let me just say that there are some benefits of being the only school counselor. One, you are the expert, you're the behavior expert. And so certainly you can step into that role and use it very wisely to help other people. Another opportunity, I think, is that depending on how it's structured in your school, you may have a good bit of flexibility and autonomy. If you're, not part of a team, you're not expected to be part of a team and play that kind of role. Potentially, you could have some flexibility and autonomy. And finally, I think you can develop some really great relationships. Whether that is with other staff members or if that is with students. And I think that's always the case in a school counseling job. So I hope this is helpful if you're the only school counselor at your school. And as always, I want to thank you for all that you do for children, and thanks for listening.